Jaiswani.
Good evening. We'll take the next one, irritability. Irritability.
This is number 7 in your books. Do you, dear reader, suffer from anger and irritability?
Who does not suffer? Who does not suffer? Right? Irritation. Some of the things you observe in others. So, I used to observe Mr. Tavaria, and he had this great art of relaxation. And he could relax all the 200 muscles of his body. I've not seen that anywhere else. And in all those 6 years, I've seen him get irritated only once, and that is when I made a big mistake and he was looking at me, and I could see that there was a little bit of, he was upset a little that, but otherwise I never saw irritation on his face, right? So Irritation is the beginning of anger, the stirrings of anger. And it is the best lesson any seeker can learn is irritation, because it keeps on coming in the small things of life. She'll repeat a sentence, I'll get irritated. She'll not come on time, I'll get irritated. There's nothing good on the TV, I'll get irritated. Right? I can't find my clothes, I'll get irritated. Keys are lost, I'll get irritated. The food is too salty, I'll get irritated. Right? So irritation is something which keeps on coming. Right? So the greatest guru is irritation. Right? It keeps on educating us. Right? To come to a state where we don't react with an impression, the impression of irritation. And if you have learned not to react to the impression of irritation, then we've really learned something. Then we've taken a big, big leap, very big leap. Right? So, irritation means that I'm holding a lot of anger in my safe deposit locker, right? And that anger needs to be freed. It needs to be dealt with and be finished with, transformed into something higher. And we keep on working with irritation because it is a constant reminder that we are identified. Right? So, better than even the watch, right? So, it's a constant reminder that we are identified but we must be authentic about it. Otherwise, I'll say, oh, I didn't get irritated. Right? Then I'm not authentic about it. Right? So, irritation is a very, very beautiful thing. Right? Okay, let's go ahead.
From the sparrow, the meek dove, and the domesticated dog to the king cobra, the tiger and the lion, none is free from this greatly dreaded disease in man.
Have you seen animals getting irritated? A dog snaps back. It gets irritated. Right? If you have a cat, apply a little bit of tiger balm to the nose of the cat, it'll get irritated. Right? It'll get irritated. Right? So, irritation is there in animals also. Irritation is there in animals.
Whether he is small and weak or big and strong, man is at once quick to temper and display anger. If this be your failing, then how long do you wish to be listed with birds, reptiles, and the animals?
Okay, now another thing about anger. Like we say, ordinary food and essence of consciousness, 3, right? 3? 3. Okay. Breathing and essence of consciousness, 2. And digestion of impressions, essence of consciousness, 1. Right? But if there is anger lying within me, right, then the transformation of anger is directly essence of consciousness 3, right? What in Gurdjieff's language is called as MI12. MI12, right? So that is why anger is very, very precious. So very angry person has a lot of raw material. His go down has a lot of raw material. Only his factory is not working properly, right? So if he can transform all that raw material into finished product, then he's walked miles and miles, right? And and a person who does not have anger, he does not really live an intense life, right? There must be a passion for living, right? Only the Daku Valmiki can become Rishi Valmiki. Can you see? So a gentleman cannot walk on the spiritual path. A person full of raw energy, he walks on the spiritual path. So there must be that raw energy, that what you call, and that is the raw material, and then we can transform it into something higher, and that is straight away energy of a sense of consciousness, third grade, which connects us to the inner divine, right?
For for what art thou a human being?
For what art thou a human being? Why have we chosen to come into a human body? Is it our choice or is it an accident? Why does the soul seek a human form? Come on, let's see who's going to answer this today. Huh? Right? Why does the soul seek a human form? Now, he has only one purpose: to rise in consciousness, because the soul wants to go back into the spirit. So, unless he rises to the same level as the spirit, it cannot go back. There's no entry over there, right? So, the soul comes into human form to seek consciousness. But the vibrations of the soul and the vibrations of the child which takes birth, there's a sudden drop in vibrations, right? In that acquiring a physical body, there is a sudden drop in vibration. And because of that sudden drop in vibration, there is a swoon. Swoon means behoshi. There's a swoon, it faints, the soul faints for some time, right? In that, it forgets why it has come, right? It forgets why it thinks it has come to earn money, it thinks it has come to get a degree, it thinks it has come to become very famous, right? And it forgets its real purpose of why it has come. Then the spirit inside it tells the soul, wake up, 3 times in our life. And if you don't listen to it 3 times, then it's gone, right? So 3 times we get a chance in life, right? And it tells us from inside that you have come for this purpose, not for that purpose. You come for this purpose. You've forgotten, right? But the soul has forgotten. And like I said, the soul is incomplete. Like we talked of sex energy in the morning, sex energy gives that feeling of incompleteness. I want to merge into something. I want to join into something. I want to become whole. I want to become one. Right? That incompleteness of the soul can only be filled with consciousness. Right? That is called purnata, totality. Right? So the soul comes to get consciousness, but in the birth shock, it forgets why it has come, and then it becomes a part of that. This thing. Now, if you observe a little deeply, this incompleteness expresses in every avenue of life. Can you try to explain it to me? In the sense that, supposing I'm running after money, right? Supposing I'm running after money. Why am I running after money? What is the deep, what do you call, deep cause for me to be running after money? Right. The soul has this feeling of incompleteness. It wants to become full. Right? It wants to become complete. Right? And there is a wrong notion that by getting a lot of money, I'll become complete. That is the deeper aspect. None of us experience this. We think that, oh, I get a lot of money, I'll be comfortable and I'll have a leisurely life, etc., etc. Right? You know that very famous story of the rich man and the fisherman. The rich man was walking along the beach, and he saw this fisherman was sitting next to his boat and smoking a pipe. And he says, "What are you doing over here?" He says, "Oh, today's catch is over, so I I'm just relaxing and watching the ocean. So he said, but you should go and get another catch. I said, why should I go and get another catch? Right? So he says that then you'll get more money. So he says, why do I need more money? So he said, then you can enjoy life. What do you think I'm doing right now? Right? So, but this is what the Hindus call as Maya, the Maya. That I feel that through money I will, what do you call? Uh, Close that gap between and become complete inside. Can you understand? Similarly, I may be seeking for a girl, right? A relationship. I'm seeking a. Why am I seeking a relationship? I feel through that relationship, I'll feel my completeness. Or I may be seeking fame. I want to become a minister in the government, right? I may be seeking fame. Why am I seeking? So when we go to the root cause of every activity in life, the root cause lies that the soul is incomplete and the soul is searching for completion. It gets this mistaken notion that I'll buy this car, I'll feel complete. I'll get this new home, I'll feel complete. I'll buy this t shirt, I'll get complete, etc. etc. It never works. Huh? It never works. So the soul forgets why it has come and it comes. Now, the soul has come to gather something called consciousness. From where does he gather consciousness? Where is consciousness available? Where is consciousness available? Where is consciousness available? No, you see, you have to understand something over here, that the soul is a form, but it is not a materialized form. It is a form without material, right? Then it becomes a materialized form. Skin, blood, bones is put into the soul and it becomes a materialized form, right? Now, why does it seek a human form? What is the aim is consciousness. Why can't it have consciousness as a soul? Why does it have to come into a human body? Huh? You're not allowed to answer. Huh. You're not allowed to answer. When it comes into the human form, what is it gifted with? Senses and thinking, feeling, sensing, moving. Right? It is gifted with 4 centers. It is gifted with 4 centers. As a soul, it does not have 4 centers. But when it comes into the human form, it can think, it can feel, it can sense. It has a basic sensitivity, the soul. It has a basic sensitivity. It can sense and it can move. It can move. Right? Now, where is consciousness? Huh? No, these are the 4 centers. I think you're a little confused over here. I'll just finish this and I'll explain what Tanmatra is. Don't leave here with that confusion, please. Huh? Okay. Right. Where is consciousness? Where is consciousness? Come on. In the incoming impulses is of food. From food, can you get consciousness or you get energy? From food, you get energy. You cannot get energy from food. I mean, you cannot get consciousness from food, right? Where is consciousness? Nobody's done their homework, huh? Right? The teacher never gave you a B, C, D. One day when my daughter was young, she said, I got an F, right? So, uh, uh, where is consciousness? Right. No, not in the four centers, in the four functions. In the centers perform a function. Consciousness is mixed with function. Now, how do you separate consciousness and function? How do you separate consciousness and function? Yeah, that you first bring the centers into harmony, into balance, and then you can work with the centers. Till then, you cannot work also with the centers. But how do you separate consciousness with from function? What is the key over here to separate consciousness and function? Right, right. To perform the function with self consciousness. Which functions? Thinking, feeling, sensing, moving. Four functions have been gifted to us, right? Now, when I think, am I conscious of myself? No, I'm just thinking. So I'm not separating gold from sand, right? Many years ago, I had gone in some forest area and there was this guy panning for gold. He was panning for gold, right? And uh, so there was this stream going and he was panning for gold, old guy. So I said, how do you do this? You teach me how to pan for gold. Of course, I was not going to live there and pan for gold. So he taught me, we were there for 1 or 2 hours and he taught me how to pan for gold. And you see, and then you have to look for small specks in the sand, small specks in the sand. So, and there's something called beginner's luck, right? It's called something called beginner's luck. So he gave me the pan and I started doing it. And in the first shot, there were 2, 3 specks. So he was so happy, right? He says, Are, you got something over here. And he was so happy that from his pocket, he took a big piece of gold and he gave it to me. He said, You keep this. I want to give this to you. I've still got it, right? So, what I'm trying to say is, we come into life to separate the gold from the sand. What is the sand? Thinking. What is the gold? Self consciousness. The gold is self consciousness. So, one arrow of attention on my thought and one arrow of attention on a feeling of I, then I'm thinking and being self consciousness at the same time. I'm separating the sand from the gold. Can you see? I'm feeling, right? Maybe I'm feeling friendship towards you, right? So I say I'm feeling friendship, but if I'm observing my friendship and also feeling self conscious at the same time, so from the function of feeling, I'm separating consciousness. Can you understand now? So, see, consciousness is only in these four functions. These are the four streams where you have to go to pan for gold. You have to go to pan for gold, right? So the whole effort is to think and be conscious. Now, how do I be conscious at the same time? Most of my attention is on my thinking or whatever is happening outside, but one arrow of attention inside. This is called double arrowed attention. Double arrowed attention. Now, from the function of thinking, I am extracting consciousness, right? One arrow of attention on my muscles or on my hand and feet or mouth or whatever, what they are doing, they are moving, the muscles are tense or relaxed, they are moving, right? And one arrow of attention on self, I'm extracting consciousness from the function of moving. So consciousness is mixed with function. Consciousness is mixed with function. right? And as we keep feeling ourselves performing the four functions, we move through life performing these four functions. And as we keep on sensing ourselves doing these functions, we keep on extracting self consciousness and we climb the ladder of self consciousness. As we climb the ladder of self consciousness, objective consciousness, which is at a higher, it comes down to meet us. We don't have to go up to meet it. Objective consciousness is the real I. The real I. So as we become more and more conscious, the real I keeps on coming down and we get glimpses of the real I, sensitivities of the real I. Is this clear now? Right? So why has the soul come to gather gold? Consciousness. And see, in Sanskrit, gold is called as Hiranyagarbha, consciousness. It is called as Hiranyagarbha. So we, as we gather consciousness, we have to connect that consciousness to the divine fragment inside. There we need a bridge of energy called the, what do you call, energy of essence of consciousness, 3. Essence of consciousness, 3. Right? Okay, so we'll, and a direct source is anger. Direct source is anger. I'm going to give you a small, what do you call, trick to steal anger. Right? To steal anger. So let's finish this and then we'll talk about a small trick to steal anger. Right? How to steal anger. Right?
For what art thou a human being?
What are thou a human being? To gather consciousness. Right? But as long as we are only reacting to life, we have not really become a human being.
But you say that you have tried so often to curb it and have failed. Rightly so, for you have used your will, and that is one sure way of failing always.
Yeah. You cannot fight with anger. You cannot fight with anger. Right? You cannot take a broom and sweep your anger out. Right? There has to be a conscious transformation of anger. Right? So you have to work with it. And it's a long process working with it because we've accumulated tidal waves of anger. Right? So it is a long process working with it. Yeah.
Does a thought like, I will never see his face again, or I'll never step into your house again, for you are accursed, or I loathe you in my bosom, I scorn you with my eyes, come to you?
One of the most difficult taskmasters was Ramdulare Bapu. And I was with him for 7 years. Everything that I am today is because of him. It is his gift, right? And whenever he was multidimensional, in every dimension of life, he was a master. He was not a jack of all trades, he was a master of all trades. But he was a very strict master, very strict master. So he would, what do you call, create situations in which we would get terribly angry. He would create situations in which we would get terribly angry and then he would run away. Right? So, right? So, to face your own anger, we would be at the bus stop and we have taken, in those days, the Gujarat buses, you had to reserve your seat in the bus and all that. We reserve our seat in the bus. And then at the last moment when the bus comes on the platform, and he has done this many times, on the bus, with the train, you look for him, he's nowhere around. He's nowhere around, right? So then you lose the bus in which you've got your reservation, and then you have to catch a local bus where everybody is this thing piling upon one another, and he'll push you inside the bus like this, huh? And if you ask him where did you get, he said ghatia khawa gaya tha, right? So. And this is how I traveled all over India with him, right? I traveled all over India with him. I stayed 1 month in 1977 in the Allahabad Kumbh Mela with him, right? And sometimes we would be traveling, and in the middle of the night, we would board a train from some platform. In those days, there were no cushions. There were, the wooden patias, right? Planks in the third class. And he would push us into the third class, right? And then he say, "Arey, you're feeling tired. I'm sure you want to go to sleep." So what he'll do, under the patia where everybody's shoes and baggage is, he would make some room and say, "Go into that room and go to sleep," right? So he was a very hard taskmaster, and he would create these situations where you get so irritated, so upset, so this thing, and he would be laughing all the time, laughing, and he's personally going through it. So we have no way of telling him anything. There's no way we can tell him anything. I mean, you're just holding that anger inside, right? So the master creates situations where the disciple gets angry, and then he tells him to observe the anger and feel the anger, sense the anger, and work with the anger, right? Okay.
Speak out the above thought again, slowly and coldly in a low voice. And the thoughts are, I will never see his face again. I'll never step into your house again, for you are accursed. I loathe you in my bosom. I scorn you with my eyes.
See, in Gujarati, there's a saying, if you don't treat me well, no, then I'll say, તારા ઘરમાં હવે હું શું કહેવાય, પગ નહીં મૂકું ફરીથી, right? And then there is something called Vevar, right? And then there's a marriage in your home. So you have to come to invite me. So then I'll say, I'm sitting like this, you please bow down, say sorry, right? Then I'll come for the wedding, otherwise I won't come for the wedding. And you will see this everywhere in Gujarati households. I don't know in other this thing, but in Gujarati households, it has happened everywhere, right? So the thing is that people, they feel offended, and they use these kind of words. I will never see your face again. I will never come to your house again. Right? So I loathe you in my bosom. I hate you. I hate you. Right? So don't come in front of me. I scorn you with my eyes. Right? So this, you have to move through this sensitivity. And because it has happened to everyone, I don't think it is very difficult. I don't think it is very difficult. We'll read it again.
I will never see his face again. I'll never step into your house again, for you are accursed.
You are cursed. આ તારું ઘર જે છે ને એ શાપિત ઘર છે. અહીંયા ભૂત બંગલા છે. Right? I'll never come to your house again. Right?
I loathe you in my bosom. I scorn you with my eyes.
In my heart, I hate you. I loathe you in my bosom. In my heart, I hate you. I scorn you with my eyes. When I look at you, there's scorn in my eyes. Get out of my sight. Get out of my sight. I scorn you with my eyes. So this sense, now again, this is a negative one. Where is Mr. Negative? Right? This is a negative one, but in the sensitivity and reliving of that, we become conscious of it. Can you see? We rise above it, we become conscious of it. The buffers break inside, right? So again, do this in the 3-step rhythmic rhythm. I would advise you to go harsh at the beginning. Start with 3, right? Then go to 5, 6, and then go to 1, 2. Go it that way. So you're starting with the loudest, right?
Speak out the above thought again, slowly and coldly in a low voice. Now think of all your trespasses, both mental and physical, all the trespasses known to you about yourself.
Trespass is whenever I have got angry, whenever I have got irritated, right? Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses. Forgive us our trespasses, right? So that we may forgive them. So that we may forgive them. The daily prayer, Lord's daily prayer, right? So in that prayer we say, give us this day our daily bread and forgive our trespasses. Our trespasses, right? So every time I fall in consciousness, I have trespassed somewhere. I have trespassed in somewhere, right? So, and because I am mechanical, it happens. It is not in my hands, right? I don't have that level of consciousness. So it is not a mistake or something, it is a trespass. I've entered your property by mistake. I've entered your property by mistake, right? But if you go to America, don't enter anybody's property by mistake. There the laws allow that person to shoot you, right? So if you're walking on a road and you go into his boundary by mistake, he has the right to shoot you. Right. So forgive our trespasses where I have crossed the boundary, wherever I have crossed the boundary, wherever I intruded into somebody else's space, where I've intruded into somebody else's space. Right? Okay.
Think of God or that power by whatever name you would understand, saying the same words to you, and yet know that the power has patience with you and can bear with you and your trespasses, but you would not be tolerant.
So he's saying, think of God or that power, whatever name you are, saying the same words to you. Right? Now put it opposite. We saying the same words to God. Then he's saying God is tolerant. He's not going to get upset. Right? The inner real I is tolerant. The soul is tolerant. It is not going to get upset. But we get upset very easily. We have no power of endurance. No power of endurance.
Now, slowly but in an audible voice, say, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Repeat slowly and loudly, and then yet more loudly.
Where has he taken this quotation from? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. He's taken Christ's quotation. Right? So Christ is on the cross and they have put nails in his hands and everything. And there's a crown of what do you call thorns, which they have hammered into his head. And at that level, even in that state, because Christ is supposed to endure it. Right? He's supposed to endure it. But he cries out once in complaining. He cries out once. So he trespassed. What did he? He trespassed. Right? He says, my father, have you forsaken me? તે મને છોડી દીધું છે. My father, have you left me? Have you forsaken me? Right? So he complained once because the pain must have been so, what do you call, that he, for one moment, and then he realized that what have I done? I complained. And I was supposed to endure this, go through this. Right? And so then the very next moment he says, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. They are mechanical people. They are machines. They will only do what a machine has to do. They are mechanical people. You cannot expect anything else from a machine. You can only expect what it is programmed to do. And thus now these machines have been programmed to put nails in my hand. So he says, but that one moment he trespassed. He trespassed. He realized his mistake and he immediately said, Forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Right?
Now, slowly, but in an audible voice, say, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
So, anybody in all these 68 years or whatever, your 25 years or whatever, so many people must have upset you, so many people must have done pain to you, so many people. But how can we complain? Can we say this machine is hurting me? Right? And Gurdjieff says man is a machine. How can you complain that this person is, what do you call, hurting me, this person is insulting me, this person has cheated me, this person has done this to me? It is not possible, right? Because that person is a mechanical person. Forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. And in that, we become forgiveness. In that, we become forgiveness. Right? So, what do I get irritated upon? What do I get irritated upon? I expect something from her, she does not fulfill my expectation. I get irritated. Forgive them, for they know not. How can I expect? How can I expect? Right? The husband expects from the wife expects from the husband. But how can you expect from a machine? Right? It's not possible. Right? So he's saying, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. They know not what they are doing.
Repeat slowly and
And
loudly.
now do this in the 3-step rhythm: 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Yeah.
Imagine the scene of the crucifixion and the compassionate face of the Christ on the cross.
The compassion. Right? What is the difference between pity, sympathy, and compassion? What is the difference between pity? I feel sorry for you. I feel pity for you. Right? Sympathy. I sympathize with you. And compassion. What is the difference? Daya and a karuna. I don't know the word for sympathy in sahanubhuti. Sahanubhuti. They are all at different levels. Which is the lowest? Pity, daya. Right? Daya. It is always from the ego. It is always from the ego. Right? In sympathy, the ego has softened a little. I'm vibrating at the same level you are vibrating, this sympathy. And in compassion, I have risen to a level where I can see what is right for you. Right? So you may be hungry just now, but the right thing may not be to give you some free food. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? So if I'm in pity, I'll give you free food. There are many people, they take all the food from the restaurants and give it to all the poor people. Right? But compassion, maybe I'll tell you, get a job over here, I'm giving you a job. Right? Can you understand? So in compassion, we feel pity, we feel sympathy, but above that, we are separate from both of them and we know what is right for the other person. Right? So if Ramdulare Bapu tells me to go to sleep under the, what do you call, that is out of compassion. It is out of compassion. He wants me to work with my own inner contradictions. Right? Can you understand? It's out of compassion. So the Guru has compassion for the disciple. Right? But for the person who's begging on the street, I have pity. I have pity. Right?
Once again, say it aloud and then softly and yet more softly. Close your eyes and relax for 2 minutes. Do nothing and think of nothing else. Only continue the 3-step rhythmic breathing. When you open your eyes, you will find a different person.
You'll see a different person. At least for that day, you won't get angry. That day, you won't get angry. It won't be possible. a different person, then do it next day again. Next day again. And anger is one of our most precious commodities, right? It is directly the highest energy possible to man. It is directly the highest energy possible to man. So it is vibrating at the same frequency, only it is negative. You change the negative to positive, it is vibrating at that same frequency. Right? So anger is very, very, what you call, precious. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Okay, any questions now? Anyone else? How many are left now? So we'll try to finish one or two tomorrow morning. Right? Yeah. Huh? So we'll take hatred tomorrow morning or unexplained fear. Which one? Unexplained fear. Okay. Right. Uh,
So you were about to tell how to steal anger, sir.
huh? Right. Now, when we have worked on anger for some time, this cannot be done immediately, right? And now you have to understand a little bit of Gurdjieff over here. So, when we are negative, we are feeding nature. We are feeding, that is, we have energy inside of us and we are giving it out to nature. Giving it out to nature. He calls it food for the moon. Food for the moon. Now, there are two types of energy. Two types of energy. One is that the energy which comes from the sun, right? And one, the energy which we gain in the deep sleep at night. The source of that energy is not the sun. The source of that energy is not the sun. So that energy, the soul merges with the divine fragment and we get some energy at night, right? And that energy is the most precious energy we have. So actually it is pure, nearly pure consciousness. Now in a burst of anger, we give that energy to... See, let's go through the whole story. And he tells this story in his great book, Beelzebub Tales to his grandson. Right? So he says that nature wanted to create life in those places where there was no life. Right? So after the creation of the Narmada Dam, suddenly the desert in Kutch has become more fertile. So many lands in the Kutch became fertile. So there was no life there. After the creation of the Narmada Dam, there has been life over there. Right? So, first of all, the divine architect or the divine engineer, he created plant life, and they found that when the plant dies, it releases all the energy it gets from the sun. Every day it is taking energy from the sun. The leaves are taking energy from the sun, creating food. The plant uses that food, and when it dies, it gives out all that energy. Nature takes all that energy. It becomes food for the moon. But it was a very slow process. So then what you call the divine council met, the council of ministers, all the angels and everyone, and they said that this is not enough of energy, so they created animal life. They created animal life. Now, if you see an animal, I don't know how many of you all watch National Geographic or anything. one of the things about an animal is when it is dying, it tries its best to cling up to life. It cannot surrender to death. A man can surrender to death, but an animal cannot surrender to death. Now just see, a lion, it eats its food after killing its food, right? But wild dogs, hyenas, the cheetah, they don't eat their food after killing the food. They have made the food, what you call the animal, what you call uh, defenseless, right? Maybe they've bitten it somewhere or whatever, so it can't fight back, and the animal is still alive. It is still alive, and they already start eating the food, right? Now, in such a case, when you are observing that animal, right, it is somehow trying its best to hold on to life. I don't know if any of you have observed this. At no point can the animal say, I'm definitely going to die. What is the point? Right? It's not possible. It is programmed to hold on to life. So, in that dying struggle, it gives out energy, that energy of pain, that energy of deep pain, of deep suffering, as what we call the cheek, it screams it out. And the moon, that is like a, what do you call, dessert for the moon, right? It is what you call laddu for the moon, right? So the moon is eating that energy. Can you understand? There also they found that, what do you call, it is not possible. Still something is missing in the food for the moon. So the divine architect created man, human being. And if you read the purpose of that, there's one whole chapter. Are we a synthetic humanity? Are we a synthetic humanity? But he did not put any divine fragment in man. So there was no self-consciousness. No self-consciousness. Right? Then again he saw, but still something was missing. Now animals take food from the sun. Plants take food from the sun. Man takes food from the sun, converts it into energy. All three convert it into energy. And man releases that energy in negative emotions. But that was not enough. One more energy was missing, and that was divine energy. Divine energy. So God and the divine architect and the council of ministers, they all got together again. And they said, now the only way is to put a divine fragment in man. In the Atma Mukvi pade. Right? So now if we put an Atma in man, if we put a spirit in man, there are two possibilities. Right? One possibility that he can become conscious, then he becomes equal to God. He becomes equal to God. And that possibility is now in every human being. And the other possibility, he takes that energy from the divine every night and gives it about in negative emotions, and moon gets that missing energy. It wants to, for life to come on the moon becomes the earth, etc., etc. It's clear to everyone. So God was a little apprehensive, and God had a minister called Mr. Narad, right? So he's telling the divine architect, if man, gets this divine fragment, then all of them will work and become God. Then what will I do? What will I do, right? So, because in giving the divine, God has to create man in his own image. So then Mr. Narad said, don't worry, we have forgotten to put imagination in man. So he will imagine that he is already God, then he won't make any effort to become God. Right? So They put imagination also. This imagination Gurdjieff calls as Kunda buffer. Kunda buffer, right? So he put in imagination that man already will imagine that I am God. Why should I work to become God, right? Why should I rise in consciousness, etc. And so he put in an extra organ according to Gurdjieff, and it's called the organ Kunda buffer, which makes him believe that he is already God, right? And so now the moon is getting the proper food. So that food which we take in the middle of the night in deep sleep, right? And we wake up in the morning that in one burst of anger we give it all to the moon, right? And that is why this energy is very, very, this exercise is very, very important. How many of you know accounting? How many of you know accounting, are good accountants? Nobody, all software people. Okay. Say there's a year ending in accounting. There's what? A year ending. Now the government has made it compulsory. 31st March is everybody's year ending. In the old days, Diwali was the year ending. Right? So at the moment on Diwali, right, there would be something called a carry forward balance, right? So there's so much of balance in the bank and everything, and carry forward to this year. That is the closing balance, and this becomes the opening balance. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Now, this energy which we get from the divine fragment, can we make a closing balance and opening balance? And when is that closing balance? So, when do the inner books of account close? No. The accounting year, 31st March, when is the income tax accounting year? Our CA has gone away, right? Is the income tax accounting year. When is the inner accounting year? Come on, it's so easy. Arey yaar. Bolo, Mr. IIT. Mr. IIT. Now, when is the inner accounting year for my energies, inner energies? When is the inner accounting year? Huh? Shot in the dark, huh? Mr. Bachchan gives 4 options. Toko. What does Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows? See, all of y'all got it. Uttarayan. Makar Sankranti is the closing balance. Right? Now, some governments, what do you call in the world, not our government, right? They are very generous governments, right? So, in the new accounting year, especially in some remote places of Canada or some place, right? And so when the new accounting year starts, they put, say, $1,000 in your account or something of that sort. I think Mr. Modi is putting in the farmer's account or something of that sort. Yeah, he's putting some money like that, right? So, if you have a closing balance, which is carry forward, then nature gives you a little bit in the opening balance. That is called Makar Sankranti. Makar Sankranti. Right? And that is why people hang on to that closing balance becomes opening balance. Right? So that they die after the Makar Sankranti. The sun crosses its line. The sun crosses its line. So the closing balance has become opening balance. And in that opening balance, nature gives you something. Right? Nature gives you something. So now, this energy, which we gain at night, which is the highest energy we can get, And in anger, nature takes it away from us. In jealousy, it does not take it away from us. Right? Only in anger. And nature is waiting. Nature is waiting. Right? So, in the morning, it will bring some news or somebody's phone call to upset the equation. We get angry, give this thing, and then the rest of the day, nature is not bothered. Right? So, now supposing we are gaining this energy every night, right? And we, collect this energy. We don't allow nature to steal this energy. Then at 14th January, all the energies closing balance will become opening balance. Right? So we have carry forward something from here. 99.99%, 99999% of humanity, they have no closing balance. It's all gone. 1 hour after waking up, everything is gone. Where 14th January? Where 14th January? Now, in this movement of the sun, on 14th January, right, the sun adds, if you go, there are some foreign exchange brokers. So if you deposit $500 with them, they give you $500, right? Don't do it, right? Okay. But the sun adds to this energy. This adding of energy, right? It is as if you have, it is a kind of grace, it is a kind of something. And that energy which is added, if we use it for our self-observation, we use it for our meditation, we can prolong for longer states and move into much higher states, because that is very valuable energy. The Guru, so you see, even we see Bhagwan, he held on to 14th January, that new energy came, then he left the body. Right? So, now the gurus, some gurus, not all gurus, right? But some gurus, they can directly take that energy and give it to their disciples. They can directly take that energy and give it to the disciples. Right? So we have the story in the Bible where Jesus goes up the mountain. And he has 3 disciples with him. One of them was Peter. I don't remember the names of the other 2. Right? And he tells them that don't go to sleep. I am going up the mountain. Right? And when I come back, you should not be sleeping. Sleeping does not mean this sleep. He's talking of something else. Remain in the present moment. Be receptive. I'm going to give something to you. Right? And he goes on top of the mountain and he prays over there and he says, "Oh Lord, this cup which I'm holding in my hand, the cup which is full of your energy, this cup which I'm holding in your hand, allow me to pass it on. Allow me to pass it on. Give it to my disciples." And he comes back down and they are sleeping. And everything goes a waste. So he says that he gets very angry on them and he wakes them up. Right? And then he goes back again. Again he says, "Oh Lord, this cup I am holding for you, you please fill it with energy. Allow me to pass it on to these people." And he comes back down, they're sleeping again. 3rd time he goes up. Right? Gets angry again, wakes them up again. 3rd time he goes up. Same thing he does. And when he comes back, they are sleeping again. And he's so sad, he doesn't know what to do. He could not pass on that energy, that divine energy directly from the sun. The sun's prana goes into the earth, transforms in the earth and is released as prana in the atmosphere. He is taking it directly from the sun and giving it to us. Can you see? In the sun, iron can become gold. There is transmutation in the sun. He is giving that prana of the sun to his disciples. And the disciples are sleeping. It was too late. He hears the soldiers coming in the distance. The soldiers are coming to arrest him, to put him on the cross, right? And he says, I can hear the soldiers coming. Before they arrest me, let me go to greet them. Before they can arrest me, let me go to greet them. And he says, he goes in front and he says, you arrest me. Can you see? So this energy. Now I'm going to give you a trick to steal this energy. Right? I'm going to give you a trick to steal this energy. Right? Now the idea is to fool nature. Because nature, all our lives, nature has fooled us. Right? We are always giving negative emotion into nature, and nature tricks us into giving negative emotion. Right? Now we want to fool nature. So, between getting angry and expressing the anger, there is a gap. There is a gap. So I can sense energy is building in my muscles, and before I get angry, I dissolve that energy, I release that. I don't allow myself to get angry. Now, here nature is also like the human mind, you know. What is it called? FOMO. FOMO. Nature suffers from FOMO. Fear of missing out. Right? Fear of missing out. Right? It happens every day. At night you do a planning, you'll say you'll buy this share for 21 rupees. But the share falls from 26 to 24. And then you feel, if it doesn't fall to 21, better buy it at 24, and then it goes to 20 rupees. Right? Fear of missing out. So nature also suffers from FOMO, fear of missing out. So what does nature do? When we are, feeling anger, and before the expression of anger, in that gap, nature gives us energy. It bridges that gap. It bridges that gap. Which energy? That powerful energy, the most powerful energy, direct from the sun. And it is so powerful that we don't see the gap, we straight away get angry. But in that gap, nature gives a little energy. Of course, she gets it all back, right? She knows she's going to get it back, right? It is like a bridging loan. You know, those who have done business, they get a bridging loan, right? From the bank, right? So nature gives that bridging energy. So now we want to cheat nature. So we have to allow ourselves to become angry till the point we are on the verge of throwing out that anger. At that point, nature will fill the gap, take the anger back, cheat nature, take that energy within us. Right? This is a very high technique, very, very high technique. I'm just sharing it with you. I don't think any of us are ready to do that technique. But in this, later on, maybe if I'm not there, you'll remember me. Yeah? And maybe your time will come to do this technique. Right? So in this, you act the anger. You cheat nature into thinking that you are really getting angry. She gives you that fine energy which Christ was looking for. She gives you a drop of that fine energy. You take the anger back, relax the muscles, and cheat nature, steal the energy from nature. And this is the highest energy of essence of consciousness 3. Energy of essence of, right? So this is anger and irritation. Tomorrow we'll take something else. Any questions? Anyone else? Any questions? Yeah.
What is the difference between being angry and being aggressive?
You cannot be aggressive unless there's anger lying in your deposit vault. Right? You can be persistent. There's a difference between being persistent and being aggressive. In aggressive, there is a desire that my way or no other way. My way or highway. Right? But in persistent, you want your way, you're trying to put your way, but you're ready to drop it if it's not possible. Right? So in aggressiveness is The degree of aggressiveness will depend on how much of anger I am holding.
Grumbling is also a way of anger, no?
Complaining. Grumbling is complaining. It could be with anger and it could be not so much angry, but we are complaining when we are grumbling about anything. It's complaining.
What to do with it?
Pardon? Tense and relax the muscles. Block the right nostril. Huh?
There are some people we observe, they will never express anger. Like whatever you will
They
say.
won't express anger outside.
Right.
That doesn't mean they are not expressing it inside.
Right.
Right? And they're suppressing it also. Suppression is a form of expression. I'm expressing it on myself, not on you.
Right.
Right?
So what is the way out of it? Like you
I
say,
just told her, tense and relax the muscles. Understanding. If you understood this, you'll realize that now you don't want to waste this energy. This very understanding will make you work for it.
Something related to what Varun said. So sometimes when I'm irritated, it's about myself, something to do with the situation. Maybe I want to achieve something, I haven't done that. And you tend to think of, okay, maybe I can, the times that you think about, okay, let me just go for a walk, or just do something which is an activity. Let's
Yeah,
say,
but don't suppress the anger. Remain with it, sense it till it disappears.
okay,
Right? Don't suppress it. At least bring that much of consciousness to it.
okay.
Shall we stop? Only married people. What to do? I don't recognize bachelors.
Hello. So, as we read here, Lord forgive them, for they know not what they do. And we talked about the mechanicalness or the mechanical aspect of man, and man is a machine. And then we talk about pity, sympathy, and compassion. So, when we see somebody's mechanicalness, and we see our mechanicalness also, so how can we?
What is the natural reaction to other people's mechanicalness? Tell me. Irritation. The minute you are irritated, you are mechanically reacting to somebody else's mechanicalness. Can you see? Right? Law of accident. Good lesson to work with. Bolo.
But then I wanted to ask on one more point. Like if we see the mechanicalness and if we feel pity, so how can we go from pity to sympathy and then from sympathy to compassion?
Some people are very clever here. Huh? Mr. Tavaria always said the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Now you are asking me what is the taste of the pudding. See, now you are insulting me. You are treating me badly. You are showing arrogance to me. Now, in the initial stage, I'm hurt and I'm reacting. If I may not be reacting outside, I'm reacting inside. Then I pause that and I try to be aware of what I am doing. I bring self consciousness. I feel myself. I feel myself looking at my reactions, right? And those reactions, they slowly subside, right? Now, in that, when those reactions subside, that which is left is the perceiving consciousness, the seeing consciousness, because the mind is now empty of reaction. And that seeing consciousness, it sees why you have given me these, what do you call, why you have treated me in this way. What is forcing you to treat me in this way? What knots you are holding inside? Right? So I'm now what? Sympathizing with you. I'm now sympathizing with you. Now, in that, if I hold it for a little longer time, then the feeling consciousness, it tries to see the truth of the situation. Right? And I may see how difficult it is for you to be free of these knots. Or what is the way to be free of these knots? In that, I rise from sympathy to compassion. I rise from sympathy to compassion. Can you understand? So, initially, I see that he is forced to do this. There's pity. From pity, I see the causes, sympathy. And in the causes, there is a sudden upliftment of consciousness in me that he's suffering so much. Can I suffer for him? Can I be a part of those causes? Can I take those causes upon myself? Right? And there is a sudden surge of compassion. And compassion is a very high state. In that state, I will thank you that you allowed me to go in this state. Compassion is not a state in which I can remain all the time. Compassion will depend on the outside situation. There must be a trigger for compassion. So I see you suffering. I see the cause of suffering. And I suddenly feel that why can't I suffer for him? And in that, there is compassion. Or I see that, oh, it's going to take him 200 years to be free of this suffering. In that, I suffer inside. That is compassion. There's a feeling of compassion. It is a very high conscious state. And I'm lifted into that state momentarily because I'm looking at what is happening to you. Right? I don't know. You understood? Okay. Yeah.
So I'm a little confused. When we read purpose of birth and death, then we see how from jana to tapa to everything, how divine fragments are formed, and how later the plant kingdom comes into existence, and then the animal kingdom. So how does this story, which you said about how the Gurdjieff told about all this, how this fit into that what we read in PBD?
No, he says very clearly, initially man was a synthetic humanity. It's very clear in purpose of birth and death. It's very clear there. Right? See, don't go exactly by the written words. Try to see everything on a little higher scale. Right? Then things become complementary. Otherwise, things become contradictory. Right? So, this is just a story which Gurdjieff has put in, that man initially came without a divine fragment and then a divine fragment was put in. And this is the story he has put in Beelzebub Tales, why that divine fragment was given. Yeah.
So this is related to the eighth weakness which we have seen on sex. And this is just based on my personal experience that if the animal instincts are like they have taken over and it has reached to its maximum and there is non-expression, then the body itself, if the expression is not there, body starts feeling pain, which biologically the term is that there is vasocongestion. So does doing 3 SRB relieve such pain?
See, you practice it for yourself, right? So, see a movie in which there is a little excitement. See, switch off the movie, hold that excitement inside and practice 3-step rhythmic breathing and see whether the rhythmic breathing neutralizes the excitement. And it is a good practice. Huh? So start with something small and slowly you'll go to the whole body. Right? So start with that. Okay. Huh? Thank you. Good night.